Are you finding yourself in the same cycle over and over again, wondering why the same problems seem to resurface no matter what you do? Whether it's relationships, habits, or mindsets, breaking free from harmful patterns can seem impossible. But what if I told you there's a way to turn that struggle into triumph? Today, we're diving into how you can break the patterns holding you back and step into a future where your potential is no longer limited by the past. If you've ever felt like you're constantly battling the same obstacles, this is for you. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to identify, confront, and ultimately change the patterns keeping you stuck. The patterns we fall into aren't always obvious. Sometimes they're deep-rooted habits, reactions, or mindsets that we've been conditioned into over time. Breaking free isn't just about recognizing the problem. It's about identifying the root cause and actively choosing to change the response. Many of us live our lives on autopilot, responding to stress, disappointment, or challenges the way we've always done. But here's the reality. If we don't change the pattern, the same problems will continue to manifest in different areas of our lives. Today, we're going to talk about how to move from a cycle of trauma or emotional struggle to a life of triumph. It's not just about surviving, but thriving, stepping into a new level of peace, power, and purpose. We're going to explore practical steps that help you recognize the patterns keeping you stuck, and more importantly, how to break them for good. First, let's talk about what a pattern actually is. A pattern is a repeated behavior, thought, or emotional response that dictates how we handle certain situations. The problem with patterns is that, over time, they become so ingrained that we don't even notice them anymore. Maybe you're reacting to conflict with anger or retreating into isolation whenever things get tough. These behaviors might seem like natural responses, but they're often rooted in deeper issues, past trauma, unhealed emotional wounds, or unresolved feelings of inadequacy. What we need to understand is that these patterns aren't just bad habits. They are coping mechanisms we developed to survive difficult moments in our past. But here's the catch. What helped you survive back then is now holding you back. To break free, you must first identify these patterns. Ask yourself, how do I usually react when I'm stressed? What's my default response to criticism, disappointment, or failure? Once you identify the cycle, you can begin the process of changing it. Recognizing the signs that a pattern is no longer serving you is crucial. Here are a few indicators that your responses to life's challenges might be keeping you stuck. You keep facing the same problem. Do you find yourself in the same type of toxic relationships, jobs, or environments? This often signals that your underlying response hasn't changed. The circumstances may differ, but the pattern repeats because your approach hasn't evolved. You feel stagnant. When growth seems out of reach, and you're stuck in a loop of trying and failing, it's likely that an unseen pattern is holding you back. Maybe it's the fear of failure that keeps you from taking bold steps. Maybe it's self-doubt that stops you from pursuing your goals. Your emotional reactions are intense. If your emotional responses seem disproportionate to the situation, like blowing up over a small mistake or shutting down when facing minor criticism, it's a sign that old emotional patterns are at play. The key takeaway here is that unresolved patterns can create emotional blind spots. If you don't address them, they'll continue to influence your life, causing you to make decisions that reinforce the same cycles. Now that we've identified the problem, let's dive into the solution: how to break free. The first step is awareness. Without self-awareness, change is impossible. Once you've identified the pattern, take a moment to reflect on its origin. Ask yourself, where did this start? Why do I react this way? Understanding the root of your behavior can reveal the emotional or psychological scars that may still need healing. The next step is intentional action. Once you're aware of your pattern, make a conscious choice to respond differently. Let's say you've identified that you respond to criticism with defensiveness. The next time you receive feedback, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is my usual response serving me? If not, choose to listen and absorb the feedback calmly, even if it's uncomfortable. This brings us to a crucial point. Breaking a pattern doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of consistently choosing new actions. Your old responses may feel automatic, but with time, you can retrain your brain to form new habits that lead to healthier outcomes. Here's the tricky part. As you work to break these patterns, there will be resistance. Change is uncomfortable, and your mind and body will often try to pull you back into the familiar, even if the familiar isn't good for you. That's where persistence comes in. Understand that this resistance is normal. Your brain is wired to protect you from discomfort, and stepping out of old patterns means facing uncertainty. But the real growth happens when you push through the discomfort. This is where support systems come in. Whether it's a trusted friend, a mentor, or a community that encourages your growth, surround yourself with people who can hold you accountable, offer perspective, and support you when you're tempted to revert to old ways. Let's take a moment to recap. So far, we've talked about how to identify harmful patterns and why they keep you stuck. But the real question is, what can you do if you don't see results right away? This is where most people give up, thinking that change isn't possible. But here's the truth. Just because you don't see immediate progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Change takes time, and the most important shifts happen internally before they show up in your external life. Keep pushing, even when it feels difficult. In the next section, we're going to talk about how to stay committed when the journey feels tough and how to maintain your progress. The most important part of breaking a pattern is recognizing that consistency is key. You won't always see instant results, but each time you choose a different response, you're rewiring your brain for success. This process is about creating new habits that align with the life you want to live. It's about recognizing that your power doesn't lie in being perfect, but in making small, intentional changes every day. One of the biggest obstacles people face during this journey is self-doubt. That little voice inside your head that says, "This isn't working," or "I can't change." But here's what you need to remember. The moment you stop needing external validation and start trusting your internal shift, everything changes. Stay focused on your progress, not perfection. Keep reminding yourself that growth is happening beneath the surface. So, what's next? Now that you know how to recognize and break harmful patterns, it's time to take action. Start by identifying one area in your life where you feel stuck. Then, take the steps we discussed today. Become aware of your pattern, take intentional action to change it, and stay persistent even when resistance shows up. Remember, breaking a pattern isn't about a quick fix. It's about committing to a new way of living that will ultimately lead to a life of freedom, peace, and triumph. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own patterns and drop a comment below. Let me know what changes you're working on. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more content on how to break free from limiting patterns and step into your full potential. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Remember, you have the power to break free from any cycle that's holding you back. Change takes time, but the rewards are worth it. Stay committed to your growth, keep pushing through the resistance, and watch as your life transforms. If you're ready to dive deeper into this topic, check out my next video, where we explore how to maintain positive changes in your life and overcome the toughest mental blocks. See you there.